You call madness that which you cannot comprehend. But I tell you, there is a lucidity that ignites the soul to the point of tearing with all the herd's conventions. He who sees too much, who feels too much, becomes for others an unbearable mirror, and so he is isolated, feared, labeled insane. But true insanity belongs to those who prefer the comfortable shadows of ignorance. The visionary is not ill, he has merely surpassed the bearable limits of mediocre normality. He is the arsonist of the fragile order you so revere. If these words already disturb you, leave now. This video is not a caress for cowards, but if you have the courage to face the abyss of naked truth, then like this video and follow me. Because here, I offer no relief, I offer brutal lucidity. Modernity trains its masses for anesthesia, easy laughter, cheap distractions, permanent flight from one's own void. But the awakened man, he carries the wound of seeing what no one else dares to see, the failure of illusions, the hypocrisy of values, the miserable theater of manufactured morality. They will call him disturbed, broken, dangerous, because nothing is more threatening to the herd than one who no longer dances to its tune. Whoever pierces the veil of appearance and touches the exposed flesh of existence becomes a spiritual exile, not because he wishes it, but because his mere presence denounces the collective lie. The normals live on shallow surface. The visionary dives into the depths, and the depths show no mercy. There are no more comforts of blind faith, foolish conventions, ready-made dogmas. There is only direct confrontation with being. But do not confuse this exile with defeat. It is, in truth, the first step of metamorphosis. Like the initiate who passes through the sacred fire, the visionary endures delirium, internal chaos, the collapse of everything that once sustained his sanity. Delirium is not disease, it is right. It is the brutal and necessary crossing for those who wish to see the world not as they were taught, but as it is. Naked, fierce, indifferent. Only after collapse comes true strength, one that relies on no masks, but on a center of its own, unshakable. And what remains after so much falling? Laughter. But not the foolish laughter of the satisfied, nor the empty laughter of idiots. What remains is tragic laughter, that which bursts forth as rebellion before the absurd. When all is shattered and reason offers no shelter, to laugh is a cry of sovereignty. It is the dance atop the ruins, the final gesture of one who refused to kneel. I myself, Nietzsche, laugh before the abyss, not because the abyss offered me comfort, but because there, at last, there was freedom. Nothing more to lose, nothing more to protect. If you have ever experienced this laughter, write in the comments, I gazed into the abyss. For we are few, the ones who no longer fit in the gilded cage of normality. While the herd sings its songs of comfort, we laugh with pain, transforming, suffering into art, chaos into creation. The artist, the philosopher, the poet, all are alchemists of their own anguish. And it is from this existential furnace that works are born which cross centuries, not from the sterile peace of the conformists. Society, of course, does not tolerate them. It needs the obedient, the predictable, those who follow the script. The visionary exposes the farce. He shows that moral laws are fragile, that religion is childish consolation, that mass culture is a vulgar narcotic. For this reason, they isolate him, ridicule him, diagnose him. They say he's broken. No, he simply can no longer bear to participate in the grotesque comedy you call civilized life. His fragility is merely the collapse of masks. Modernity, with its obsession for efficiency, performance, and image, does not know what to do with the imperfect, with those who cry, with those who bleed in public. They prefer the posture of the invulnerable. But I tell you, there is more authenticity in a man torn to pieces than in 1,000 cowards pretending to be strong. The truly fragile does not hide. He offers himself naked to the world, knowing he will be wounded, yet refusing to live as an emotional corpse. It is from this abyss of pain that true creation emerges. No great work was born from comfort. No immortal symphony was composed in the security of an anesthetized soul. Authentic art is the child of restlessness, rupture, of blood spilled on the altar of existence. The artist who dares to transform his pain into symbol offers the world a terrible gift, beauty that carries within the weight of the unbearable. He does not paint what is pleasant, he paints what is true. If that truth moves you, Share this video. May this message reach others who, like us, no longer fit in the comfortable theater of mediocrity, because we are few, because we are dangerous, because we dare to say, suffering is not misfortune. It is raw material. The weak flee from pain. The Creator shapes it. This is how works that defy time are born, ripped not from peace but from internal war. See well, delirium, that state you so fear and medicate, is often the necessary crossing. I do not speak here of vulgar madness, of mental confusion of the weak of spirit, but of the vertigo of those who dared to surpass the limit of the bearable. Delirium is the price of expanded consciousness. It is the territory where old structures crumble and new psychic forces struggle to be born. It is a burning purgatory where few survive, but where those who cross emerge with eyes that see what once was invisible. There, in the heart of chaos, the spirit is reordered, not by imposed order from outside, but by a new architecture born from the entrails of the soul itself. And when they finally emerge, they carry with them the mark of exiles. They become foreigners in their own land, strangers among their own. For the world fears those who no longer need it to exist. Solitude is not a choice, but a consequence. The visionary does not seek isolation. He merely observes that there is nowhere left to belong. His vision cost him the highest price, belonging. And even so, he continues, because the price of pretending would be greater. He prefers the honest pain of solitude to the comfortable lie of acceptance. Observe how society builds its gilded prisons. Normality, herd morality, emotional comfort sold in pills and dogmas. It is a theater where all act so as not to look at the void that inhabits under the bright sets. Sanity for them is not mental health, it is obedience. It is the capacity to not ask too much, to not see too much, to not feel too much. The awakened man, on the contrary, destroys the stage. He tears the veil, crosses the curtain, and faces the empty stage of existence. And in that void he finds terror, and also freedom. I tell you, this is true courage, not that of warriors who kill, but of those who bear the weight of existing stripped of illusions. Most cannot bear this burden. They need rules, leaders, manuals so as not to go insane. That is why they fear the visionary. He is living proof that it is possible to walk without crutches. He carries on his face the reflection of what everyone represses. Absolute doubt, cosmic helplessness, the beauty and horror of a life without imposed meaning. And yet, there is something sacred in this exile, because the visionary, even bleeding, becomes an involuntary beacon. He does not preach. He does not lead the masses. He simply exists with such intensity that his presence unsettles the satisfied. His silence denounces more than 1,000 sermons. He is the living reminder that another way of being is possible, an existence without masks, without the sweet lies that keep the herd asleep. He walks naked beneath the merciless sun of truth, while the others crawl in the shadow of their own illusions. But attention, do not confuse this with arrogance. The visionary does not feel superior. He simply can. No longer pretend. His pain is proportional to his lucidity. He sees the contradictions, the hypocrisies, the farces, and can no longer take part in them without tearing himself apart inside. Every false smile of others is a thorn to him. Every social convention a mockery. He is condemned to a wound that does not heal, the brutal consciousness of what the world really is. And the most tragic, and at the same time the most beautiful, is that from this wound, creation is born. It is in exposed flesh. That great poem Spring, immortal paintings, philosophies that still cry out centuries after their authors have died. True art is not made by calm hands. It is shaped in sleepless nights, in feverish deliriums, in silent tears. The authentic creator is the one who transforms his own collapse into a work. He makes of his personal hell a bridge to others, a symbol, a mirror. If these words resonate within you, write now in the comments, I transform my pain into strength. For this is the community of the few who dare to create from the abyss. While the world spins in its narcotic dance, we sculpt beauty out of agony. We tear meaning from that which has no meaning. We do not beg for pity, we beg for lucidity. And those who cannot endure this journey, Let them return to the herd. There is still time for the weak to seek refuge, but here, only those strong enough to bleed in the name of truth remain. Now listen well. The visionary's true enemy is not pain. It is the solitude of not being understood. It is looking around and realizing that almost no one is willing to cross this desert alongside him. The price of seeing too much is speaking languages that few understand, and that is why so many are lost, truly go mad, or succumb to despair. But some, the strongest, the most tragic, learn to make friends with the void itself. They make silence an ally. They make their own exile a dwelling. And it is at this point that something close to the divine emerges. The individual who survives the destruction of all his certainties becomes free in a way the herd could never conceive. He no longer needs approval, acceptance, applause. He no longer fears being hated, rejected, or ridiculed because he possesses something the world cannot take, possession of himself, an unbreakable inner center. And this, I tell you, is true power, not that of kings and rulers, but the power to exist without bonds. I myself traveled this path. I was consumed by my own lucidity. I did not go mad. From seeing ghosts, I went mad from seeing too much. The abyss did not devour me, I dove into it willingly. And when I returned, I was no longer the same man. The price? Misunderstanding, mockery, isolation. But also the absolute freedom to say what no one else dared say. To tear the hypocritical veils from morality, religion, bourgeois mediocrity. To be the dissonant voice in a world that prefers the comfort of lies. If you also feel this fire burning in your chest, subscribe to this channel now. Here we offer no cheap consolation nor poisonous self-help. We offer confrontation. We offer naked truths. We offer the company of those who prefer to bleed standing rather than crawl smiling. And if these words scare you, it is a sign that you are not yet ready. But if they inflame you, you are one of us. And there are few of us. Observe the herd. They pride themselves on their small social victories, their empty titles, their domesticated smiles. They mistake stability for fulfillment, routine for happiness. They do not live, they merely repeat. They are breathing corpses, and when they meet someone who refuses to partake in this pathetic circus, they label him disturbed. Because for them, the disturbed one is he who does not accept the script of universal mediocrity. The lucid man is a constant threat to the rotten peace of the satisfied, and yet it is precisely this lucid one who lays the foundations of the future. Great ideas, authentic revolutions, immortal works, all spring from those who were marginalized in their time. Today's exile is tomorrow's prophet, but know this, there is no glory in this crossing. There is pain, there are nights of despair, there is the unbearable weight of being a stranger everywhere. And yet, the visionary continues, not because he expects reward, but because he can no longer be anything other than himself. But do not think that this pain is punishment. It is, in truth, the seal of authenticity. For he who has already experienced the collapse of all certainties discovers something the herd will never touch, the lightness of no longer needing to pretend. He no longer fears failure, for he has already lost everything he could lose. He no longer fears contempt, for he has been expelled from every salon. He no longer fears death, for he has died in life countless times. And it is at this extreme point that the free spirit is born. The free spirit is an outcast among men, but sovereign unto himself. He does not serve ideologies, he does not belong to parties. He does not bow to passing fads. He observes the dance of slaves with the contempt of one who knows the price of freedom. Each chain the world tries to place on his pulse is met with an ironic smile, because he no longer carries the invisible chains that crush the majority. He was broken and rebuilt in fire, and fire made him indomitable. You see, deep down, the world fears the indomitable, because he reminds everyone that obedience is choice, not destiny. The free spirit walks alone, but his solitude is not weakness, it is privilege. He does not need the herd's approval, nor the embrace of false friends. He has already crossed the valley where most dare never set foot. He has already spoken with his own despair, and from there drawn strength. Now, while the herd seeks applause, he seeks only clarity. While all sell their souls for security, he keeps his intact. even at the cost of empty nights and silent days. And do you know why so few endure this journey? Because it demands a brutal sacrifice, abandoning the illusion of belonging. The common man dies of fear at not being part of something, but the visionary understands that it is precisely by ceasing to belong that he finds his place. He does not fit in churches, nor in corporations, nor in the ideological buffooneries of the century. He suffices unto himself. His company is his incandescent mind, his merciless vision, his irreducible integrity. And this is why, although they call him mad, he carries a peace the herd will never know. And now I ask you, who is truly insane? He who dares to traverse the internal darkness and emerges transformed, or those who spend their lives hypnotized by dogmas, conventions, and distractions? You call madness that which threatens your fragile social theater, but true insanity lies in the cowardly escape from oneself, in the refusal to confront one's own soul. The lucid man accepts the internal desert, and in it builds his dwelling. The others keep pretending they are happy, while they writhe in anguish disguised as normality. I do not invite you to comfort. Here there are no sweet pills, no easy recipes, no promises of guaranteed happiness. I invite you to the great crossing, the path of one who dares to be whole even if the price is solitude, contempt, and pain. And if these words pierce you like a blade, then stay. Like this video, share it with the few who also endure raw truth. Because this is not a refuge for the weak. This is a training ground for those who have chosen lucidity, no matter the cost. Understand, the delirium you so fear is not always ruin. It is often purification. When mental structures collapse, man is forced to confront what he always avoided, the primordial chaos of his own existence. There, without the crutches of inherited morality, without the walking sticks of popular beliefs, emerges a unique opportunity to reorganize the self according to a new logic, not inherited, but conquered. Delirium can thus be the violent birth of a new soul. This is what ancient cultures understood when they saw in the mad not merely a sick person, but an initiate. The shaman, the mystic, the crazed poet, all crossed the flames of psychic rupture to then return as bridges between worlds. While common man fears going mad, the visionary accepts the risk, knowing that only he who dances with chaos can touch the sacred. And for this, he often pays with his very sanity the price of his crossing. And behold the tragic paradox. The very herd that fears and persecutes the visionary depends on him to survive spiritually. It is his creations, torn from pain and chaos, that feed the slumbering souls with a glimpse of something greater. It is his words, his works, his ideas that centuries later still strike like lightning upon humanity's eternal mediocrity. The herd devours the crumbs of genius it once tried to destroy, and thus the cycle perpetuates. It fears the living creator, then venerates the dead creator. Ah, how fate laughs at such grotesque irony. The same world that called me mad today splashes my face on books, courses, and speeches that do not even understand what I was saying. For the herd only embraces the prophet when it can no longer be hurt by his truth. While alive, the visionary is a danger. Dead, he becomes a domesticated icon, harmless, converted into cultural merchandise. But his true message continues echoing for the few who dare to listen with naked ears. Madness, therefore, is not the opposite of wisdom. In many cases, it is its very consequence. He who sees what should not be seen, who touches what was forbidden to touch, carries in himself the burden of a consciousness that rends him. The abyss shows no mercy to those who gaze upon it too long, and I gazed. You call this collapse. I call it overflow. I overflowed from the world of small men, and in that overflow I found something they will never know, the tragic greatness of being whole. Do not seek then the approval of the normals. Do not desire to be understood by one who never dared leave the pen. If your soul has already been torn by the naked vision of reality, accept your condition with honor. You are not a victim, you are initiated. You are not a failure, you are forged. While the herd sleeps lulled by sweet lies, you carry the blazing torch of lucidity. And that torch may burn your hands, but it illuminates the path for those who will come after you. Modern society, with its false psychologists and its hired moralists, tries to pathologize every form of intensity. They call disorder that which is often the healthy response to the absurd. What did they expect? That lucid minds would be docile before a rotten world? That sensitive souls would applaud the hypocritical theater of conventions? No. Revolt, astonishment, misalignment are signs that something still pulses, that the spirit has not yet been completely domesticated. I tell you, it is. Preferable to be broken by seeing too much than to be whole in blindness. It is preferable to be called mad for being free than to be considered sane for being a slave. The price of lucidity is high, but that of mediocrity is death in life. He who dares to cross this existence with open eyes walks on hot coals, yes, but walks upright. While the herd crawls in putrid peace, the visionary burns and shines. Listen closely. Every great soul, sooner or later, will be called to the stake. Not for its sins, but for its light. For there is something unbearable in the presence of one who does not bow. The herd, even if unconsciously, desires the execution of what it does not understand. It is its primitive way of maintaining order, sacrificing the different, crucifying what challenges, medicating what transcends. So they did with so many before me, and so they will continue to do. Mediocrity horrifies the extraordinary, but here is the secret. Even consumed, the visionary has already won. His existence was an act of rebellion against the uniformity of the species. His thought, his words, his creations will remain like seeds sown in the soil of history. The stake consumes the body, but not the idea. The blade silences the voice, but not the echo. And it is in that echo, in this whisper that even today pains your ears, that lies the triumph of those who dared to burn. Therefore, if there is something I wish to leave you, it is not consolation, nor puerile hope. It is challenge. Dare to see too much. Dare to carry the weight of your own lucidity. The whole world will try to bend you, medicate you, reduce you to the common. Refuse. If necessary, bleed. If necessary, burn. For only he who bears the internal fire becomes his own forge. Life is too brief to be lived as a pale copy of a social manual. Be original, even if it costs you sanity in the eyes of others. And if, after all this, you still wish to walk with me along these dangerous paths, then like this video now. Subscribe to this channel and join the brotherhood of those who dare to exist without masks. Here there are no promises of peace. There is an invitation to combat. Truth does not caress, it tears. And only he who has already been torn by it knows the bitter and sublime taste of being whole. I am Nietzsche, and this call is for the few who can endure the raw light of existence.